Let's jump right into this explainer because today we're looking at the invisible hand behind literally the biggest technological build-out of our generation. We hear so much about artificial intelligence, right? The fancy models, the chatbots, the apps we use every day. But today we're getting into the physical reality of AI. We're exploring a company that has quietly, almost secretly, positioned itself at the absolute dead center of the modern data center. Just to put the sheer scale of this into perspective, think about this number. $650 billion. By 2026, the big tech giants are projected to spend a mind-boggling $650 billion on AI infrastructure. And here's the kicker. That mountain of cash isn't just going to software coders. A massive chunk of it is entirely focused on physical data centers. We're talking pouring concrete, building the massive server racks, beefing up power grids, and assembling the wildly complex hardware that actually makes artificial intelligence a reality. And the financial stakes of building all this out, they are absolutely staggering. Enter Celestica. If you rewind just a few years back, Celestica was basically seen as a low-margin electronics manufacturer, an old IBM spinoff, fighting tooth and nail on price in a highly cyclical market. But get this, over the last 3 years, their stock exploded by 2,700%. No, really, 2,700%. And they pulled off this wild surge by completely ripping up their business model to become the absolute core infrastructure winner of the AI boom. So let's get into the exact problem they solve, the data center bottleneck, why compute isn't enough. To really get how Celestica pulled off this turnaround, we have to look at a fundamental, almost physical problem inside modern AI factories. Because look, having the world's fastest, most powerful AI chips means exactly zero if those chips can't talk to each other at lightning speed. One of the analysts from our source material absolutely nailed it. They said, networking isn't just some side component, it is the data center's nervous system. Training these AI models means massive rivers of data have to constantly flow between servers, sometimes spanning across entirely different buildings. If that data jams up, those incredibly expensive processors just sit there twiddling their thumbs. Celestica is the company building that critical nervous system. Now, to squeeze every drop of performance out of this nervous system, the hyperscalers, we're talking the absolute titans like Google, Amazon, and Meta, they're actually ditching generic, one-size-fits-all processors. Instead, they're pivoting hard to custom ASICs, or application-specific integrated circuits. Basically, these are custom chips built to do just one specific job insanely well. They use less power, they deliver way better performance, but here's the catch. They need incredibly complex, purpose-built servers to house them. You can't just run to the store and buy a standard off-the-shelf box anymore. You need next-level power delivery, crazy liquid cooling systems, and perfectly tight integration. Celestica is tackling this massive bottleneck head-on by designing what are called scale-up Ethernet architectures. In the AI world, you absolutely need extreme throughput and zero lag. Celestica is right there delivering top-tier 400 and 800 gigabit per second systems today, and they are already perfectly lined up for the upcoming 1.6 terabit transition as these AI clusters just keep getting bigger and bigger. Honestly, this specific segment is expected to grow at more than double the pace of overall data center spending. Which brings us to their big pivot, Celestica's strategic transformation from assembler to architect. So you might be wondering, how did Celestica actually get a seat at the table with the biggest tech companies in the world? Well, this right here is the secret sauce behind that massive 2,700% stock surge. Celestica entirely rewrote its business DNA. They looked at their old OEM model, those traditional original equipment manufacturer relationships where they just assembled standard parts for companies like Cisco and fought over pennies, and they completely walked away. Instead, they went all in on the ODM, or original design manufacturer model. This means they are working right there in the trenches with the hyperscalers, custom engineering platforms that fit like a glove into that specific customer's architecture. The result? Way higher margins, and customer relationships that are incredibly sticky. And to be clear, a transformation like that doesn't just happen overnight. Celestica earned this elite status by working side by side with giants like Google for over 10 years on their custom TPU, or tensor processing unit platforms. Google literally trusts them to co-invest and solve these mind-bending power and thermal puzzles for every single new generation of their chips. When you have that level of deep engineering integration, you build a competitive moat that is nearly impossible for anyone else to cross. Let's look at what's next. Expanding strategic partnerships beyond the hyperscalers. Having firmly conquered the hyperscale space with those massive custom programs, Celestica isn't just stopping there. They're now expanding their reach to grab the broader enterprise and sovereign government markets. A huge part of this expansion is championing open networking using something called Sonic. Sonic is an open-source network operating system, and it's a real game-changer because it gives enterprise customers ultimate freedom, no more being locked into one single vendor's strict roadmap. Now businesses can scale up their storage and their networking completely independently to perfectly match whatever their own AI workloads demand. To actually get this tech into the hands of these new customers, Celestica is leveraging 3 key strategic partnerships. First up, they've got a major distribution deal with ASI Computer Technologies. This essentially drops their crazy powerful high-density infrastructure right into the laps of value-added resellers across North America. Second, there's a landmark collaboration with Bell Canada to build Canadian sovereign AI infrastructure. That is absolutely critical for governments and highly regulated industries who demand their sensitive AI data stay securely within Canadian borders. And third, they rolled out the Spark Partner Program, which basically gives new partners the training and incentives they need to sell this tech globally through brand new channels. Okay, time for the bottom line. Financials and future outlook, the proof is in the numbers. So the big question, how is all this transformation actually looking on the balance sheet? Well, in a word, explosive. Take a look at their Connectivity and Cloud Solutions, or CCS segment. In just the first quarter of 2026, their communications revenue shot up 69%, completely fueled by everyone buying up those 800 gigabit networking switches we talked about earlier. But check out the enterprise side, up 100% in Q1, and they are projecting a jaw-dropping 130% surge for Q2. That right there is the very real, hard cash result of the world frantically rolling out next-gen AI and machine learning infrastructure. And because they are just relentlessly executing on this strategy, the leadership team is incredibly confident. In Q1 alone, total revenue hit $4.1 billion. That's a 53% jump from the year before. But even more importantly, they confidently raised their full year 2026 revenue outlook to a massive $19 billion. Adjusted earnings per share are projected to grow by 68% this year. Listen, this isn't just a temporary bump. This signals real, structural, durable free cash flow, as all that high-margin, ultra-complex design work really starts to scale up. As we bring this explainer to a close, I want to leave you with something to really chew on. As this $650 billion AI gold rush keeps unfolding over the next few years, who are the true winners? Is it just the flashy software models making all the headlines? Or is it the invisible architects, the companies like Celestica who are quietly building the actual nervous system that makes this entire AI revolution possible in the first place? Think about that. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into the infrastructure of tomorrow. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you in the next explainer.